So my case that I decided to do my presentation on is Meritor Savings Bank versus Mechelle Vinson. And this is the case in which Mechelle Vinson was sexually harassed by her supervisor for 4 years. Her supervisor was Taylor. And so she started dating this guy, and they went out on a couple dates, and then he kept pursuing her with sexual advances, and she didn't like it, so she decided to break it off. She decided to stop dating him. So they stopped dating, but then he kept pursuing her with sexual advances, and she gave in because she was afraid. She felt that her job was threatened. And this case, sadly, I think it happens a lot more than we think it happens. And what the Supreme Court said about it is they said that Taylor was guilty of sexual harassment by his unwanted sexual advances, and the court also said that the company management, is liable for such cases, for sexual harassment by its employees. And also the court said that the company is responsible for adopting policies for checking harassment. Now, I agree with these three things. I agree with the court that Taylor was guilty. It was clearly sexual harassment, and there's no doubt about that. But then I also agree with the court that they said that the company management is liable for sexual harassment by its employees, and I also agree that the company management is responsible for adopting these policies. But where I disagree with the court is that they did not provide a clear standard for what companies need to do. They didn't provide a clear standard for how liable the company management is in reality. They didn't provide a standard for what types of checks and balances need to be put in place by the companies so that sexual harassment can be checked on. And so my solution to the issue, to me, the issue is really, there's no real guidelines for how companies should act, how companies should handle sexual harassment. And so I think a lot of companies, they actually slack off, or they don't do a very good job at getting a handle on these types of things. So what my solution would be is to make anonymous reporting available to all employees. And if the government would require all companies to have, a regular once a year or however often seminar on sexual harassment, defining what it is and how to report it, and then there should be anonymous reporting available. Because let me tell you something, one of the reasons why sexual harassment never gets reported, or is never, we don't even know how much is out there, a lot more than we know, but the reason why it doesn't get reported is because these women are afraid. They're afraid for their jobs, they're afraid for what other people will think of them, other people will say of them, and anonymous reporting, if that was available to them, I think a lot more people would be reporting cases of sexual harassment. And I think it would be very helpful, because then the company can look at all the reports and say, hey, we got 10 reports in the last 6 months about this particular individual. We need to take a look at that person, see what's going on. And then the company can go to that person and have counseling or whatever they need to do to resolve the issue. But a lot of women who are victims of sexual harassment, such as my fiance, they don't report it because they're afraid. And if you make anonymous reporting available, then I think a lot more people would be very willing to report sexual harassment.